The town of Frost Hollow looked like a postcard during Christmas. Nestled in a secluded valley, it was blanketed in snow every December, its streets adorned with glowing lights and fragrant wreaths. The highlight of the season was always the winter festival, where the town's beloved Santa Claus would delight children with gifts and promises of holiday magic. This year, however, something was different. The festival, which had always been a time of joy, carried an undercurrent of unease. Mr. Garrity, the town's usual Santa for over 3 decades, had fallen ill, leaving his role to a stranger named Klaus Grimm. Klaus's arrival was as sudden as it was unsettling. He pulled into town in a battered, snow-dusted van, stepping out dressed not in jolly red, but a muted crimson so dark it looked almost black in the dim winter light. His long, silver-streaked beard glistened with frost, and his piercing blue eyes held a coldness that unsettled the townsfolk. Despite the whispers that spread through Frost Hollow, Klouse quickly assumed his place as the festival's Santa. His deep, sonorous voice and strangely hypnotic presence captivated the children. But behind his charming facade, there was something deeply wrong. At first, the unease was subtle. Little things, easily brushed aside. A child would emerge from Klaus's grotto, clutching their gift, but looking slightly pale, their laughter quieter than usual. Parents dismissed it as winter chills, but soon, the subtle signs gave way to more disturbing patterns. 8-year-old Emily Cotta was the first to speak of these strange dreams. She told her mother about a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes whispering her name from the corner of her room. Another boy, Timmy, woke up screaming in the middle of the night, claiming that Santa had been watching him through his window. And then Emily disappeared. Her parents found her bed empty one frosty morning, the only trace of her a set of small footprints leading into the woods. At the edge of the forest, they found a red velvet glove. Too small for an adult, too finely stitched to belong to anyone local. Panic rippled through the town. Search parties scoured the snow-covered landscape, their flashlights cutting through the thick forest. But Emily was nowhere to be found. Klouse, meanwhile, remained calm. He offered words of comfort and led a public prayer for Emily's safe return. Yet, as he spoke, his cold blue eyes seemed to scan the crowd with a strange intensity, lingering a little too long on the other children. Clara Bennett, a journalist and Frost Hollow native, had returned to town for the holidays after years of chasing big city stories. She had grown up with tales of the winter festival's magic, but this year she found herself drawn to the unease in the air. When Emily disappeared, Clara's instincts kicked in. She began asking questions, digging into the town's recent history. What she discovered unsettled her. Over the past decade, Frost Hollow wasn't the only town to experience mysterious disappearances around Christmas. In small, isolated towns across the region, children had vanished without explanation. Always during the holidays, always after visiting Santa Claus. In every case, there were whispers of a mysterious man who arrived just in time to play the role. Klaus Grimm. Determined to uncover the truth, Clara visited Klaus's grotto late one evening after the festival had ended for the day. The grotto, a once cheerful space filled with colorful lights and festive decorations, now looked foreboding. The air inside was unnaturally cold, and the faint scent of burning pine lingered. As she searched, Clara found something chilling. Carved into the back of Klaus's grand chair were strange ancient symbols. They matched one she had seen in a book of folklore years ago. They were wards, signs meant to contain or summon something unnatural. Suddenly, the sound of heavy boots echoed behind her. Clara froze, her breath visible in the freezing air. She turned to see Klouse standing in the doorway, his shadow stretching unnaturally long across the floor. His piercing eyes glinted with something inhuman. "You've been very curious, haven't you, Clara?" Klouse said, his voice dripping with mockery. Clara managed to slip away and fled to the town library, her mind racing. She remembered an old book she had read as a child, one that spoke of holiday legends. The book told of the Yule King, an ancient spirit that masqueraded as Santa Claus. Unlike the benevolent Saint Nicholas, the Yule King was a predator, feeding on the fears and dreams of children. He would leave behind red velvet gloves as a calling card, a sign of those he had claimed. Clara's hands trembled as she read the final line of the legend. The Yule King returns each winter. For as long as children believe in the magic of Christmas, he will find his feast. Clara knew she had to act fast. With Emily's disappearance and the strange behavior of the children, she feared the Yule King's ritual was nearing its climax. On Christmas Eve, Clara hid near the festival grounds, armed with what little she had, a handful of symbols from the book and a desperate determination. She watched as Klouse led the final ceremony of the festival, his deep voice weaving a spell over the gathered crowd. The children stood in eerie silence, their eyes glazed over as if in a trance. Clara stepped forward, shouting his name. The crowd turned in shock, but Klouse didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. A cruel, bone-chilling smile that revealed sharp, unnaturally long teeth. "You can't stop me, Clara," he said, his voice echoing with an otherworldly timbre. "I've been doing this for centuries. What makes you think this time will be any different?" But Clara had learned from the book. She shouted the ancient incantation, the words tumbling from her lips like a prayer. The air grew heavy, and the lights of the festival flickered wildly. Klouse screamed, his form twisting and distorting as the crowd watched in horror. With a final deafening crack, Klouse vanished, leaving behind only a single red velvet glove. Frost Hollow would never be the same. The festival was canceled indefinitely, and the children who had visited Klouse spent years recovering from the nightmares. Clara became a reluctant hero, though she never took credit for what she had done. But even now, years later, whispers persist. On cold, snowy nights, some claim to see glowing red eyes watching from the woods, or hear the faint echo of a deep, menacing laugh carried on the wind. And every so often, a child in Frost Hollow finds a red velvet glove lying in the snow, a chilling reminder that Santa's darkest secret is far from over.